The president tonight defending his stunning new proposal regarding the future of Gaza and plans to resettle all the Palestinians who live there.
Reaction has been swift and intense, from shock and disbelief to worry that it could disrupt the fragile ceasefire agreement going on between Israel and Hamas. We have team coverage on the developments, and we're digging into the legality of this plan. Let's begin with political reporter Marcia Kramer, who joins us now. Marcia, a lot to cover.
Jessica and Christine. Reaction in Washington, as you might expect, was split along party lines. The rest of the world is in a tizzy, worried that the president's proposal to relocate, now get this, roughly 2 million Palestinians will upend the ceasefire agreement. At the White House, there was a slight modification, the word temporarily added to the relocation plans. But in Gaza, there was stiff opposition to leaving the land, even temporarily.
I want to die in my land, to stay in it. I was born in Gaza, lived in Gaza, studied in Gaza. I got married here and had my children. Whatever happens, I will never leave it.
This is a failed Israeli plan, and it's impossible to transfer us from Gaza. We lived under bombardments for a year and a half. After all this suffering, starvation, bombardments and death, we won't easily leave Gaza.
Amid the rubble in Gaza caused by the war between Israel and Hamas, Palestinians are resisting President Trump's proposal to have the United States take over the Gaza Strip and relocate them to other countries. Even as the White House issued a slight correction to the plan, the White House press secretary saying they won't have to leave the land forever.
The president is committed to rebuilding Gaza and to temporarily relocating those who are there.
Allies and adversaries alike reacted with sharp disapproval of the president's plan to turn Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. Saudi Arabia's foreign ministry said it rejects, quote, attempts to displace Palestinians from their land. Now, without Saudi money and support, it might be difficult to rebuild Gaza and normalize relations with Israel.
He's taking bold, decisive action to try to ensure the peace of that region.
Many Republicans, like House Speaker Mike Johnson, stood with President Trump on the stunning idea. But Democrats worried that it would upend the second and third phases of the ceasefire agreement and possibly endanger the lives of the remaining hostages.
He's in the wrong place. He's absolutely creating turmoil and dissension and disruption when we should be moving the region towards peace and rebuilding after we get the hostages home.
Political experts say it won't matter what Democratic lawmakers think. The president will have widespread support in Congress, where Republicans control both houses.
Who's going to stop him? You think Republican senators that are up for election next year are going to stop him while they have the primary to deal with? One member of the House of Representatives on the majority side is going to say, wait a minute, Mr. President, that's a bad idea. Do you want a primary?
Now, it's unclear what the next steps really are. Countries like Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Jordan have made it clear they won't accept Palestinians into their countries and that the idea is totally unacceptable. But King Abdullah of Jordan will be at the White House next week to meet with the president, and this idea is sure to dominate the conversation.
I'm sure it will. Thank you, Marcia.
You're welcome.
And this proposed takeover of Gaza is sparking legal, moral, and logistical questions.
Can it even happen? And if so, how? I spoke with two experts who explained what a U.S. takeover could look like and the potential impact to the rest of the world.
President Trump has no legal authority whatsoever to assume control of Gaza.
Does that mean he still won't try?
It doesn't mean that at all.
Legal expert Mayo Bartlett says the U.S. taking control of the Gaza Strip and forcibly removing Palestinians would violate international law and cause chaos around the world.
If he sent U.S. troops, then there would be a tremendous escalation. It runs the risk of unraveling the Abraham Accords 100%, but it also invites other world powers to get involved. It could easily spin out of control.
The president said Palestinians have no alternative but to leave Gaza, adding that they would be thrilled to live someplace better, like Egypt or Jordan. But despite requests from the White House, neither country has given any indication they would agree to take in the 2 million displaced Palestinians.
They don't want to leave, and their neighbors don't want to take them.
Constitutional scholar James Sample says President Trump has something that could supersede legality in his quest to, quote, own Gaza.
Donald Trump has zero legal basis to take control of Gaza and to take ownership of another country. What he does have, though, is the power, the might, and the muscle of the United States. In many instances in international law, what's illegal might also be nonetheless allowed because might can make right.
Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy blasted the announcement as a distraction, posting, quote, "I have news for you. We aren't taking over Gaza, but the media will focus on it for a few days, and Trump will have succeeded in distracting everyone from the real story, the billionaires seizing government to steal from regular people." Could this be a distractionary tactic?
Absolutely. Donald Trump, in many respects, is often the bullfighter waving the red flag, getting you to look one direction while the real thievery goes on somewhere else. Meanwhile, the government of the United States is being, in many respects, changed by an unelected official in Elon Musk doing extraordinarily invasive things.
Both men also said the U.S. could face extreme sanctions and even trade refusals from the international community if President Trump carries through with his threat to take over Gaza.